Good evening. Good evening. So, tonight I'm going to talk to you about what I've learnt while feeding the chickens. I've often sat around and wondered who ate the first egg. I can just imagine two mates sitting by a campfire and a chook wanders through. One mate says to the other, "I'll give you $50 if you eat the first thing that drops out of that chook's bum." But about a year or so ago, I bought a couple of acres and I thought, you know what? It's time to get a couple of chickens. So I went out and I actually bought a dozen. Went out and bought the chickens, bought a cage, bought a feeder, some feed, and everything was going great, man. 10 eggs a day, fantastic. Eggs are the fruit of the chook's bum. You can boil them, you can broil them, you can bake them. There's scrambled, fried, egg sandwich, egg salad. That's about it. Then one night I forgot to shut the cage. No fight, no noise, no nothing. Fox come in, got the lot of them. After a week of sleepless nights and depressed days, I thought, you know what? It's time to get back on the horse. It's time to buy another dozen. This dozen are going to be different. UFC chickens. I thought, self-help, behaviour modification, that's the answer. I'd go into the cage of a night and I'd spend an hour with them and I'd sit down and I'd say, you know what? You're a lion. Your feathers make you invisible to foxes. You can do it! Don't be afraid. So after a month of this, I went in there and I looked him in the eye and I said, tonight's the night. We leave the door open. You're going to be fine. I get out of bed the next morning, rush outside. Guess what? They turned back into chickens. They were all gone. So after a week of drug-fueled partying, depressed days, you know what? It's time to buy another dozen. These ones were going to be charity chickens. I could see that self-help behaviour modification wasn't the answer. These chickens, I told them, start off with, you're going to work hard, you're going to give heaps. 2 eggs a day, one for me, one for the poor homeless fox down the road. Everything was great. After a month of this, they worked hard, they were going fantastic. They were exhausted, but everything was good. So I looked him in the eye again, I said, there's nothing to worry about. You can relax, you've worked hard, you've done good deeds, the fox isn't coming back. We leave the gate open. Got out of bed the next morning, rushed outside, guess what? Gone. The fox didn't care. So, after a week on a cruise ship and a dozen bottles of duty-free rum, I thought, you know what? It's time to get back on the horse. These chickens were going to be different. These were hippie chickens. These chickens didn't give a rip. They were fed only the highest quality organic seeds. Their water was from the snowmelt on Mount Everest. The incense in the cage was hydro from southeast India. Good stuff. The 24/7 mood music was the best of Janis Joplin. It was awesome. We'd lay in the grass, we'd look at the clouds and we'd say things like, screw authority, we don't need fences. Peace and love, even foxes. Yeah, and then one night we smoked a little too much. Woke up the next morning, they're all gone. The fox didn't care. So, after a week of sleepless nights and an experiment with yoga, thought, you know what? It's time. These next chickens, they need a shepherd. They need someone to look after them. They need a champion of the weak, the poor, the old. So I looked into it, did a bit of searching, and I found that you could train certain shepherds to look after your chickens. So this next dozen, they were free. They had their shepherd. They didn't need fences. They were more productive than ever. Their eggs are great. They're just free to be chickens. And they know the safest place is at the shepherd's feet. you know, the funny thing, it's a story about my life. I tried self-help. I give the charity a crack. I don't give a rip a crack. And then I decided to search. And when I found the Good Shepherd, things turned from black and white to colour. I was free to be me, and it was an awesome place to be. And I'm loving it. Thank you.
This has been another Metamorphic production.